So Peacock is giving Casey Anthony her own 3-part docuseries called Casey Anthony, Where the Truth Lies, and it starts streaming on the 29th this month. Here's the synopsis of what it will be about. Considered one of the first trials of the century that polarized conversation in living rooms across America, the Casey Anthony case is one that still leaves more questions than answers. There have been several movies and documentaries made to fill in the gaps, and yet the woman at the center of it all remains the biggest mystery. Throughout the exclusive 3-part documentary series, Casey Anthony finally tells her side of the story and addresses the public that has made so many assumptions for the past 13 years. So if you're unfamiliar with this story, this happened back in 2011. Casey Anthony was found not guilty for the murder of her daughter, Kaylee Anthony. And at the time, and still, it is widely believed that she was wrongfully acquitted of this crime. Her daughter was found very gruesomely murdered and I believe stuffed into her own trunk of her car. And a lot of people believe that she was acquitted because of her looks and not because of the evidence. So this is the first time that she's going to be asked directly about the situation and interviewed in a way that, admittedly, she has no creative control, but she's going to tell her side of the story, and it's sort of going to be like an OJ if I did it. That's what I'm assuming it's going to be.
Oh, and they didn't allow that book to come out, right?
Right.
That book got
so
pulled.
this is
and
going
I think
forward.
specifically, her parents fought against a lot of that. Like the family members of the victim of a crime often can take people to civil court. You're not allowed to profit off of a crime.
Well, unfortunately, she's both the parent and
her parents, the grandparents of the child who died,
yes,
like specifically came out against her. They believe she did it. Last I heard, like
it is her like her grandparents-in-law.
No, her parents who
Didn't
she
they
lived
post
with.
her bail? They posted her bail.
I know they both came out against her at one point.
But that's a complicated thing because maybe at first they didn't know what was going on, but when the evidence came out,
and there was a
they
while
began
where
to
it was like
suspect.
maybe it was her boyfriend. Also, like,
but still, it's
she
like
is like a documented like I don't want to play armchair psychologist, but like she clearly has a personality disorder, and she had a really long history of like lying. Like she is. I feel like it's a sociopath. Like she can lie through anything. Like she like wasn't going to school. She wasn't like she was a very disordered person for a long time leading up to her daughter's death. Yeah. And so like I feel like she is the kind of personality who wants the spotlight but also is manipulative. So I can see the fascination with wanting to hear directly from her, but on the other hand, like, let's not give her money for
I don't know if she's getting paid for this though. Maybe she's just getting paid in like the exposure or feeling like she has the last word. Who knows?
She's definitely getting paid for this.
But they're getting a lot of flack for giving her this platform and this opportunity to speak for herself.
Yeah.
And it's getting actually weirdly a lot of comparisons to the Netflix Dahmer series, which obviously is inherently different because Jeffrey Dahmer is dead and cannot speak for himself. Yeah. And it was a fictionalized, dramatized version of those real events not directly interviewing the person about his crimes.
Wouldn't the better comparison be about like the other true crime documentaries about women that have come out in the last year
and
or
I think that's why it's going to be on Peacock, because that's a predominantly female subscribed streaming service. So let's just read some tweets from the detractors.
Jay Elton's first.
If you ever wanted more context about how morally bankrupt America is right now, child killer Casey Anthony is getting her own show on Peacock.
Then I want to actually address this. So, is this a sign of American social and kind of cultural decline, or is this just a sign of apathy by people? A lot of kind of people's ability to be really fascinated by something so gruesome, or is it simply people are like, look, she wasn't convicted. Is this fall into that category? Or like, hey, man, she wasn't convicted. Like, who am I to judge? Like, is that where we're at now? Like,
I think it's a sign of decline, but no more than any other true crime docuseries or true crime dramatized series that's coming out these days. It's a fascination with gruesome crimes
Would
that
it be-
people
feel
have
like-
right now, and they're
well,
capitalizing on
would
it.
It's not just gruesome crimes. I think it couples with the conversation people have about cancel culture, right? Like, she was acquitted, right? So theoretically, she was never proven guilty. So theoretically, like, we should let it go. And similar to OJ or to other people, like, we know that being tried in the media is incredibly
you.
damaging. And so in some ways, like, because she's not guilty, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but just to present the hypothetical, like, she should have the opportunity to be on TV. She was never convicted of a crime. But public sentiment is probably that she was involved with her daughter's death and therefore should not be able to profit or even gain exposure, you know, indirectly profit off it.
And I make the comparison a lot of times that I get annoyed when people talk about companies having ethics and companies having morals. You cannot expect a company to have the same ethics and morals that a human being does. So to Peacock, in the eyes of the law, she's never been convicted of this crime. Therefore, it is not wrong for them to pay her to be in the series. But we know that that's not necessarily...
It's like a technicality.
Yeah.
Like, they know technically they're not going to get in trouble for doing this. And also the controversy is free press.
Just because
which
it's
is
This
like,
is going to boost the subscribers on their platform for sure, because people are going to want to watch it just out of pure fascination, whether or not they support the project going forward. Another tweet said, genuinely disgusted with Peacock giving Casey Anthony a platform and a docuseries. So many important and unsolved cases in the world, and you're giving a woman who's at best a sociopath and at worst a free child murderer a platform for ratings and because she's hot.
Well,
Do you think that it's because of her looks?
No, I mean, I guess that's
You think it's related to that?
Was the
a lot of people are
prevailing
also
public
pointing
sentiment.
out, like, oh, she's getting a platform because she's white, and white people are never like subject to the same scrutiny in the justice system and in the
She's
media.
definitely been scrutinized. She's definitely been scrutinized, right? Like, that's not true. I do think it has to do with her looks. I mean, not to be terrible at it. I don't think anyone's saying this out loud, but like, that was one of the things that factored into the case in the beginning, right?
That's what everybody pointed out.
And it was something that, like, sorry, I read like a whole thing on this because I fell down a internet rabbit hole one time, and like, her looks was one of the ways that she leveraged influence, especially over men, like before the murder.
And there's fascination just on that topic alone, right? Of like a woman's ability to be manipulative using her physical appearance.
And if you're a narcissistic sociopath, like believing that you are so beautiful that you can not be convicted of a crime, like, that's actually a condition.
Weirdly, that wasn't as much of what people brought up in these tweets. They were bringing up her race more often. Someone said Casey Anthony deadass got away with murdering her kid and still ended up with a TV deal. Boy, I tell you, white women in this country start the football game up 21-0.
But she allegedly also murdered a white woman, her daughter. So I would say that, like, kind of.
And if
I
you
think it
compare
cancels
this
her out.
to the other like famous acquittal of O.J. Simpson, which was incredibly racially divisive.
I would also say, and I feel like I can't go into this too much on this platform because it's not, like, it's kind of political, but like, there are a lot of cases that we don't cover that Hollywood opts out, even though they know true crime is a big industry, because you would you'd have to talk about race in a way that would make everyone uncomfortable. And so we don't talk about those.
Well, and that's kind of the double-edged sword there, right? Like, this gets mentioned and that person can say it's about race, but then that's because they don't know the other case exists because Hollywood won't touch the other case because of the hard questions it might ask. This one here says, unless Casey Anthony confesses to murdering her daughter, I'm not trying to hear it.
Well, even if she did, at this point, she still wouldn't get convicted.
Yeah.
Whatever you say
double
after
jeopardy,
the after the finality of you getting acquitted doesn't matter. Another person said they want Chris Hansen to come out and tell her she's under arrest for killing her kid at the end of the series. Doubt that that's going to happen.
No.
But yeah, I just think that this is only a sign of decline in the sense that people are obsessed with true crime for all the wrong reasons these days.
Does the time period of it speak to, like, do you think this will be the same thing will be true in 10 years, like with crimes that are going on now?
Yeah.
You do? You don't think this ever ends? Like, I guess with Dahmer being as popular as it was, granted it's a
I
dramatization.
find the genre so passé.
Yeah, it's
like this fascination with evil is actually so banal.
What if they
I
went
don't think
really...
it's evil. I think it's a fascination with, like, the unpredictable and the unknown, right? Like, one of the ways the coverage around Casey Anthony got, presented to the world was like, she's a young, beautiful mother, and like she's being accused of murdering her daughter. It's like your neighbor could snap one day and kill you. Like we live in this weird world where like fear could be just around the corner, the bad thing could be just over there. So there is the interest in like the violent sociopath, Dahmer, someone who is just like deranged to us, but also it's the idea that you could live somewhere and it could be so normal and something terrible is happening and you can't see it. I think that kind of weird anxiety and fear really fuels a lot of people, and they become kind of obsessed with true crime because it gives you a sense that you are like in the know, in the knowledge. And again, I think it's really subconscious. I think true crime will stick around for a long time because it has become this thing where people feel like activists about it. They feel empowered. And I do think that there are, there's a lot of ways, I think I've talked about it on here before, but like it really bothers me that there are YouTube channels and creators who like do their makeup while telling you true crime stories, and they'll be like, it's for awareness. And like, I don't know.
I'm beating my face and talking about Madeleine McCann.
Yeah, but also like, aren't you getting all the ad revenue from this? Like, you're probably not giving it to her family.
This is the argument I make all the time about the idea of like raising awareness and starting a dialogue is all just BS.
No, but there are actual like some podcasts out there who do like tell the story of an unsolved crime, and then people really do crowdsource information that lead to arrests. Like
Mr. Ballin.
Yeah, there's a couple really cool ones. So we have to balance this fine line where like as the internet grows, as we get access to more technology, as DNA science advances, like there is a reason to revisit older cases, but I am not sure this case is the one to revisit, right? Like we're not going to get an answer on who killed
20
her
years
daughter.
20 years of Criminal Minds has warped the American psyche. Also, it is like, what if they made it like, look at this, she broke the glass ceiling. She didn't just commit a financial crime, she committed a physical crime too, and they just make it super, super evil. Like it doesn't seem like something I would ever want to watch, but also I didn't have a unique fascination with this case. What was the one that we talked about the girl who like egged her boyfriend on to commit suicide?
That was dramatized in The Girl from Plainville.
Okay.
It's a Massachusetts case.
Yeah. So I think that's a similar one where people were talking about how a woman can use manipulation and also her looks, or even just her own self-perception of her looks, to change the opinions of jurors.
Yeah. So, and there, I guess there's also something interesting there about like just in a world where we live in the believe all women time, like that there are women that you shouldn't believe because they're very clearly bad. Like it's so counter to what the narrative is societally that women can do no wrong and women are put on a pedestal. I don't. At least I.
What I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like that is true, and I think that's interesting. But also, in some reasons, I think Casey Anthony's case is fascinating to people because it's like, could this mother have killed her baby, right?
Yeah.
Like, could she have done this? Like, under what conditions? Like, people want to know where they can, like, people can do these unthinkable things.
Yeah.
And I just, like, I don't think this is appropriate to return to the thesis question. Like, I don't think Peacock needs to dredge this up. I don't think anyone benefits from it. And to me, like, I'm sort of with you, like, true crime is kind of passe, and in this case in particular, like, nothing positive comes from this.
Well,
right?
Casey Anthony is the one who benefits.
Yeah, then let me ask
that's
this question. Is there a way to pivot and do this without, as long as they didn't have her involved? If she wasn't directly benefiting from this, so they found a way to talk about this, tell this story, get this information out there and raise awareness, but not involve her in the production.
Exclusive, the thing that's selling this is that she's in
involved.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because there's already an oversaturated market of documentaries.
And I think Lifetime
about this.
or like Hallmark or one of those things like did a dramatization. Like it's done.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.